Hello and welcome to Miniature Painting with the Jolly Good Giant. I'm your host, the Jolly Good Giant. Today I'm going to be painting up Reaper Miniatures Bones Crystal Clear Copper Dragons. They start clear when you get them in the package, but we're going to make them look like crystal. Today's video is brought to you today by Plaid Craft Company, Millis Community Media, and TJ's Cafe and Games in Milford, Massachusetts. So when you get your dragon, it's going to be in about 8 pieces, I believe. You're going to take it out of the package. You're going to wash it with mild soap and water, dry it off completely. This dragon already has 2 coats of light yellow tinted sealer on it and 2 coats of slightly darker yellow. I forget the exact names of them off the top of my head, but the point of this video is that you really only need 3 or 4 colors to make things change a little bit and give it a little bit of pop. The way I make tinted sealers is by mixing Mod Podge Ultra with Folk Art Ultra dye, and I do 1 part of each and mix them together in these little cups. I make sure they're stirred up thoroughly, and then I use them to paint them on. Do a light thin coat for the first one and do a light thin coat for the second one, and it adds a lot of color to it. Like I said, this is just 2 coats here, and this is 2 coats here, 2 different colors. So now I'm going to get to this point, like I said, I did that, and then I glued it all together. And then this is the base, and I have 2 coats of black paint on there, multi-surface black paint. This also comes clear, so don't be frustrated when, if you see transparency through it the first or second time, you can just touch up the little spots. So first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of my orange color. I start out with bright yellow and dark yellow. I'm doing orange. I'm going to highlight some areas on there. Of course, I'm using my handy dandy Mod Podge detail brushes. So I'm going to use this to accent the ridges on the dragon here. And this technique will work with pretty much any clear miniature out there, any brand. I know Reaper Miniatures has the clear copper dragon. They also came out recently with the jewel dragon, which is also a clear one. It doesn't work great if the color's tinted at all. So if you're trying to do, say, a Reaper Miniatures fire elemental, it won't show up as well. It'd be very difficult for any color to appear. You're probably better off to use regular paint on something like that. It does work on WizKids clear plastic miniatures as well, pretty good. As you could have seen in one of my other videos where I painted gelatinous cubes and nightmares. So I'm just doing light, full strokes on here. I don't want to go too heavy. I do those ridges on the head or on the crest. I'm going to do the claws. Fun thing about using tinted sealers as paint is that when you're done, it's already sealed. You don't have to put another top coat on it. And after I do all the little accent points kind of dark, I'm going to go through and dry brush this orange on the whole dragon lightly. Make sure you want to put the paint on, or the sealer on both sides of the dragon. I'm doing one side of each of the wings right now, and then I'll do the other side shortly. Hopefully my sweating's not grossing you out. It's a little warm in here. Sorry about that. Definitely don't want to sweat on the model. All kinds of stuff will start running. I know I'm a dork. Okay, so now we're doing the other side. I don't know if you can see the difference. It's a lot more colorful for the orange on this side that has it on this one that has it on both sides, as opposed to this that only has it on one side. Again, we don't want it to put on too heavy because we don't want it to run. We also don't want to put it on too lightly, pardon me, because we don't want it to we want it to show. Well, I'll set that down and let that dry. Got a little bit on my finger, but I'm okay. All right, while that's drying, I'm going to work on the base real quick. I'm going to use burnt umber, which is just a dark brown. I'm using ceramic coat. Really doesn't matter what shade of brown I use, just something dark to start with to go over the black, and I'm just going to quick dry brush that because I want some of the black to show through for shading. We're actually going to go over the brown with a lighter shade of brown and then a shade of green to be the moss before we add the shrubbery to it. If you have any interest in learning how to paint yourself, if you're new to it, or you just like playing Dungeons and Dragons but you never really painted before, if you're in the area, I do classes at TJ's Cafe and Games in Milford, Massachusetts, which I mentioned earlier. The town they're in anyway. So you can call the store to see when my next class will be. So since I dry brushed that, it's going to dry fairly quickly. I'll be able to move on to the next coat in a short amount of time, but I'm not quite done yet. It's just too much black showing for me. I don't know, it just looks too dark. And I'm going to move on to this guy. Well, this one's drying. So on this one I already did a little bit I started with the blue, and I used teal on the wings. I used a little bit of green to combine the wings and the body. And I did some green on the claws. I forgot to do the ridges and the tail, but I'm going to do that right now. And the wingtips. I didn't do the wingtips. So I'm applying a little bit of green quick. The emerald green's pretty dark. Yeah, I remember the name of this one. So I'm just going to do it lightly so I don't overpower it. We have a little bit of brown in that brush still, so I rinsed it again. I'm just going to set that aside and use that for brown. And use this for green. So I did the claws, I did the ridge. I'm going to go over this and dry brush some green over the body and the wings. I'm going to go with the green on the wings. So I just want to add a little bit of color to it. You see, you got a little bit of blue on the wing there by accident, but it works because the blues and greens go together pretty well. And going out onto the wing bone ridge. I'm going to dry brush some green on the dragon's body, main body. I'm just going to do a little bit because I don't want to overpower it, and I'm going to go over this again with the blue when I'm done. But that'll be the last step, because after this dries, I'm actually going to go over with a little bit of gold. I used silver on the purple dragon on the end, the amethyst dragon, but I'm going to use gold on these two. You probably can't see the difference at home, but I can see it. A little bit of green. I'm going to let that dry. While that's drying, I'm going to move on to the base. So on this base, I already applied black paint, some brown, and I did a little bit of green, but I'm going to do a slightly lighter brown over that. I don't think this one's even open yet. Oh, it is. Then I may go over it with some green again. Again, a light strokes. So dry brush is when I take paint on my brush and then I wipe it off on another surface. So I just get a little bit of paint on there. When it's just a small amount, it dries quicker. So that's that. And then I'm going to do, again, a little bit of green over that. Since I did it, might still be a little bit wet. Since I was doing dry brush, it should be mostly dry. Not really any sort of pattern I'm going for. I'm just doing random green splashes. So my next steps after that all dries would be to dry brush a little bit of gold or silver, some type of metallic, again, onto the ridges, the claws, possibly, get a little in the eyes, and then for that part. And then with the base, I would take these self-adhesive shrubbery, like little bushes or flowers, and I would stick them to the base. And these are made by World War Scenics, based out of the UK. They make some really awesome products, and I'm happy to be using them in this video. So I'll take some of these. So they're self-adhesive already, so we'll just take them and we'll just stick them right on there. You can use some tweezers if you want to, but the tip of my brush works fine to just pat them down. Some flowers on that side. Some random flowers over here. So once you have your shrubbery on there, your little plants, and your dragon's all done, you want to take it and glue it on like this. Put a little bit of super glue in each of the holes. Line it up. And push it down. Just hold each of the feet for a few seconds. And then you can glue it to a round base, and then you end up with this. For this dragon I used, if you look close, you might see some little splotches on there. I used alcohol ink also on this one. I didn't have as much luck with alcohol ink as I did with tinted sealers, so that's why I just stuck with the tinted sealers for the two dragons for the video. But I dry brushed a little bit of silver on the ridges, and I used a little bit of black metal for the eyes and the teeth. It might be hard for you to see, but that's what you get. Thanks for joining us today, and I hope you learned something. Have a great night.